Pisces. Welcome back to Starspoken Oracle. This is episode 9 of your weekly reading, and today we are reading for Pisces, for the week of July 1st through July 7th, 2026. A moment of reckoning arrives this week, and for the first time in a while, you hear your own call clearly. Every week I shuffle the deck for all 12 signs and let the cards fall where they need to, but this week's sky is doing more of the talking than usual. Two fast-moving planets are about to shake things loose right in the middle of a slower, more introspective retrograde season, and that tension between speed and patience shows up in your card whether you notice it right away or not. Before we get to your card, let's talk about what the sky is actually doing this week, because it touches every single sign, and it shapes exactly how your card wants to be read. The cosmic weather. This week's sky is anything but quiet. Mercury is retrograde in Cancer, a shift that began June 29th and holds through July 23rd, which means communication, travel, and old business all move a little slower, a little more prone to mix-ups, and a lot more likely to circle back to unfinished conversations from the past. Do not panic about the delays. Retrograde season is not punishment, it is a review period, and if you use it that way instead of fighting it, this can be one of the more productive stretches of your year. Then, on July 4th, two things happen within hours of each other. Mars forms an exact, volatile conjunction with Uranus at 3 degrees of Gemini, a combustible pairing of raw drive and sudden disruption that has been building since late June and finally snaps into focus. Expect the unexpected this week, sudden changes of plan, flashes of insight, or a jolt of energy that moves faster than your ability to plan for it. On the same day, Venus glides into confident, warm-hearted Leo, softening the sharper edges of the week with a dose of romance, creativity, and self-assurance. So the week has two moods running at once, Mercury retrograde asking you to slow down, review, and finish what you started, while Mars, Uranus, and Venus in Leo push you towards sudden action and bold self-expression. The trick is not choosing one over the other, it is knowing which parts of your life need the pause, and which parts need the leap. Every reading this week, for every sign, is really a variation on that same question: where in your life is patience the answer, and where is boldness overdue? This is episode 9 of Starspoken Oracle, which means we are now solidly past the midpoint of the year and sliding into the back half of summer, a natural point for stock-taking even without a retrograde underlining it. Whatever you started back in January has had 6 months to prove itself. This week's mixed signals of pause and leap are, in a sense, the sky asking you to check in on exactly that. For you, Pisces, Neptune's usual haze meets Mercury's retrograde fog this week, but the card waiting for you cuts through both with unusual, welcome clarity. Your card. Now, Pisces, let's turn the card. I shuffled the deck thinking about your week, about the energy the stars are handing you, and about what you need to hear rather than what might be comfortable to hear. The card that came up for you this week is Judgment. Take a breath with that one, Pisces. Let's talk about what it actually means for you right now, and why the timing of this particular card, in this particular week, is not a coincidence. What it means. Judgment shows figures rising from open graves at the sound of a trumpet, called upward into something larger than where they have been standing. This is the card of awakening, of a clear summons after a long fog, forgiveness, reckoning, and a chance to finally answer honestly. For dreamy, Neptune-ruled Pisces, whose usual haze is only thickened by Mercury's current retrograde, this card promises a rare, sharp moment of clarity breaking through. Judgment is a card of second chances more than final verdicts, a summons to look honestly at where you actually stand, not a punishment for how you got there. This week, that honesty is more available to you than usual. Here's something worth watching for as the week unfolds, Pisces. You might notice this as a memory or an old conversation resurfacing uninvited, asking to finally be resolved rather than avoided again. Let it surface. It has been waiting for this particular week to be dealt with honestly. The areas of your life. Let's walk through where this lands, Pisces. In love and relationships. In relationships, forgiveness is available this week of a partner, or of yourself, for something old that has been quietly weighing on the connection. This can be a rebirth of something real, or a clean, honest closure. Single Pisces, a past chapter may resurface for one final, clarifying conversation. A conversation that finally says the true thing about forgiveness, about closure, about what you actually want carries unusual weight and clarity this week, cutting through Mercury's usual fog. In work and career. Professionally, a wake-up call about direction is arriving, a chance to honestly reassess whether where you are is where you are actually meant to be, rather than simply where you have settled. A reassessment of your direction is not a crisis this week, Pisces, it is an honest recalibration, and it is better welcomed now than avoided any further. In money and resources. Financially, a past decision resurfaces this week for final resolution, fitting, given Mercury's retrograde return to unfinished business. Close the loop rather than letting it drift longer. An old financial matter resurfaces for resolution this week, address it directly rather than letting it drift under the retrograde fog any longer than it already has. And in health and energy. Emotional release is the theme this week, letting go of something you have been carrying quietly. Healing comes through rest and honest reflection, not through pushing harder. Rest and reflection heal more than effort this week. Give yourself permission to do less, and notice what becomes clear in the quiet that follows. And one more area worth naming this week, your own growth. Your growth edge is trusting the clarity when it arrives, instead of retreating back into the comfortable fog. This week's honesty is available to you, practice staying with it a little longer than feels natural. Your guidance for the week. Before the practical advice, a word on timing, Pisces, because this week's sky moves in a specific shape. The retrograde fog is thickest early in the week. Clarity tends to arrive by the weekend, once Venus has shifted into Leo and the Mars-Uranus intensity has passed its peak. Save your most important conversation, the one requiring real honesty, for the back half of the week. So what do you actually do with all of this? Answer the call, Pisces, even if the only one who hears it is you. This week rewards honesty over avoidance, finally. Pisces, the trumpet is not calling you toward judgment in the punishing sense, it is calling you toward the truth you already half know. If you take one thing from this reading into your week, Pisces, let it be that Not as a rule to follow perfectly, but as a direction to lean toward when you are not sure which way to turn. Come back to your card if the week gets confusing. Judgment is simpler advice than it looks at first glance. Closing. Before you go, Pisces, here is a one-line journal prompt to sit with this week if you want to take this reading further than just listening. Where this week am I being asked to slow down, and where am I being asked to leap? Write down the first honest answer that comes to mind, not the answer that sounds best, just the one that is true. Pisces, here is your affirmation for the week of July 1st to 7th. Say it with me, once, like you mean it. I answer my own call, honestly and without delay. Carry that with you as you move through this week's judgment. That is your reading for this week. If this landed for you, subscribe so you do not miss episode 10. It drops next Wednesday, with a brand new card for every sign. And if this week's reading was helpful, share it with the Pisces in your life who needs to hear it too. The stars have spoken, Pisces. Until next week.